Welcome to Online Worship. It's good to greet you. My name is Simon Perkin and I lead the Salvation Army Church in Sittingbourne. It's great to see you. I hope you are well and keeping safe. I'd like to thank our two contributors for the past 2 weeks. First of all, Linda, my wife, and Michael Mount. They did well, didn't they? This past few weeks or month has been a really busy time for us. We've moved house, all that entails of packing and cleaning and then unpacking and get everything straight. And then after that we were expecting the birth of our first grandchild, and that eventually happened, and we welcomed Joel Thomas Midginson into the world, our grandson. And I know all grandparents say this, but he is gorgeous. He is just adorable, and I look forward to the coming days and years in watching him grow and spending time for him and hopefully putting some good into his life. Today we're going to be looking at a story about harvest. I know we're not at harvest yet, but about how the fields are ripe for harvest. And so we look forward to that in a few moments. But this week also we have a new part of our online worship. I'm sure you're probably aware, like many charities, the Salvation Army has taken a big hit in its income and its ability to raise income. And right at the end of this week's worship, there'll be an opportunity for you to give if you are able. There'll be a sign come up where you can download an app, and then there's a QR code which you can scan, and the money that you give will come directly to the work and ministry of the Salvation Army here in Sittingbourne, doing the most good to those who most need it. Thank you in advance for your giving.
Would welcome me. I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I He has ransomed me, his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child. There's a place for me. I'm a child.
This week we're going to look at a story from the Bible where Jesus was travelling from Jerusalem north back home to Galilee, and he passes through an area called Samaria, and he stops at a well, and while he stops there the disciples go off in search for food, for sustenance for the journey ahead. And while he's there he has a conversation with a woman, a Samaritan woman, and there he tells her about who he is, that he is the Christ, and he talks about what true worship should be like. But then the disciples return and the woman goes off back to her town. And you can find this reading in John's Gospel, chapter 4, verses 27 through to 36. Let's listen to it. Just then the disciples returned and were surprised to find him talking with a woman. But no one asked, "What do you want?" or "Why are you talking to her?" Then, leaving her water jar, the woman went back to the town and said to the people, "Come, see a man who has told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Christ?" They came out of the town and made their way toward him. Meanwhile, his disciples urged him, "Rabbi, eat something." He said to them, "I have food to eat that you know nothing about." Then his disciples said to each other, "Could someone have brought him food?" "My food," said Jesus, "is to do the will of him who sent me, and to finish his work. Do you not say, 4 months more and then the harvest?' I tell you, open your eyes and look at the fields. They are ripe for harvest. Even now the reaper draws his wages. Even now he harvests a crop for eternal life, so that the sower and the reaper may be glad together." I don't know about you. I don't know how things are going for you. I don't know if you're a tad fed up. I don't think any of us thought that this pandemic would be going on as long as it is. And there appears to be no end in sight. I wonder if you're feeling a bit disconnected. You're feeling disconnected from family, although the restrictions have lightened up a bit there. Or maybe you're feeling disconnected from friends, or from friends who you normally meet at church on a Sunday morning or a Sunday evening. Or maybe, just maybe, you're feeling a bit disconnected from God. Well, let me tell you something. And this applies to everyone, whether you're a believer or whether you're not a believer. I think if God had a fridge your picture would be on it. I believe if God had a wallet, then your photograph would be inside of it. And every spring he sends you flowers. And every morning he brings you a sunrise. God is not in lockdown. Heaven is not in lockdown. God is not social distancing. He's not saying, oh, keep back, keep your distance. I'll keep my distance from you if you keep your distance from me. No, God is with us. He's with us every step of the way. And I hope that's great encouragement to you. You know, often I talk about when you wash your hands, remember whose hand you're in. You're in God's hand. He is with you every step of the way. But looking back at our story, we have this imagery of Jesus standing talking to his disciples. The woman has gone back to town and she shared her story about how this person knows about everything in her life. And she says, come, let's have a look. And I have this picture of the whole town descending towards Jesus. And as he sees them coming, he says to the disciples, you say 4 months more and then harvest. But he says, look around you. The fields are ripe for harvest. Harvest time is now. And I believe there's a new harvest coming our way. And in this new harvest, I believe the church has to be different. I believe the church has to walk in a new way, in a new direction, in a new light. Back in the Old Testament, right towards the very beginning, halfway through Genesis, we hear the story of Abraham. Abraham's a man who is faithful to God. God says, get up from your hometown and go in a direction. You won't know where you're going, but when you get there, you'll know, because it's a place of promise. It's a place, a land filled with milk and honey, a place where you will prosper. But he also gives Abraham a promise, a covenant we call it. And the promise goes like this. He says to Abraham, you will have many descendants, as many as the stars in the sky or as the sand on the beach. And he says these descendants of his will be a blessing to all the nations. And I felt upon my heart a real divine calling that the church should be a blessing to our neighbours, both where we live and around our church building. And it should be a blessing to our community. It's like if we're widening the doors of our church, metaphorically, so that more people might come in and discover the wonderful story of Jesus, a way he takes people's lives just as they are, but doesn't leave them that way, transforms their lives into something wonderful and something great. Life in all its fullness. Jesus said he come to bring us. But I don't think the church doors need to open wider so people can come in. But we as church need to go out and to be a blessing. After all, the gospel of Jesus Christ, the good news, is a go gospel. Jesus says, go and tell all nations. Go and heal. Go and release people from oppression. It's a go and do gospel. It's a go and serve gospel. It's a go and be a blessing gospel, to bless people everywhere in serving them. And okay, you might be saying, Simon, but look at the world today. It's just so chaotic. And look at the situation we find ourselves in this pandemic. Can God do something even through that? Well, let me tell you this. I believe my God, for him all things are possible. And I believe there's not a situation that God, in all its chaos, can create something surpassingly good. And I think that's what God is doing in these days. In these days of trial, He's saying, look guys, there's something new coming. There's something wonderful coming. But you need to step into it. So, church, if you're a church member, I want to say to you, let's step boldly. Let's step bravely into this new world so that we might reap a wonderful harvest for the world. I believe we should be passionate believers who dare to dream big dreams, and then the power of God make it happen. God bless you. And oh yes, and when you wash it, don't forget to wash your hands. And when you wash your hands, remember whose hand you're in.
I'm in His hands. Whatever the future holds, I'm in His hands. The days I cannot see have all been planned for me. His way is best. You see, I'm in His hands. I'm in His hands. I'm in His hands. Whatever the future holds, I'm in His hands. The days I cannot see have all been planned for me. His way is best. You see, I'm in His hands. I'm in His hands. I'm in His hands. Whatever the future holds, I'm in His hands. Days I cannot see have all been planned for me. His way is best. You see, I'm in His hands. The days I cannot see have all been planned for me. His way is best. You see,